Hello, Diane here from Stitchscape and Lady Mollington. And actually, after me just saying hello, Alfie's just turned up. And he's in, but don't think he wants to be on the camera today, do you? Right, I'm here to give a little explanation about what happens to your quilt when you take it to a longarmer. Does it take them half an hour to stitch out your design on the computerized system, and then Bob's your uncle, and then they charge a fortune and it's daylight robbery? No, that's not the case. I'm just doing one little step with you today, but I do have a presentation that I do for quilting groups that explains through a lot of the steps of what's required before you hand your quilt to a longarmer, or what to consider should you be thinking of putting your quilt to a longarmer to do the quilting for you. But this is just one of those steps that needs to happen before I personally will quilt on a quilt. Okay, I have this backing currently. You can see the wrong side of the fabric. This is the right side. Okay, when I load this onto the long arm, if I stand here, there's the front poles which are hidden under there, and then there are some poles up here that the take-up pole. So one of the first things I will do when I'm ready to quilt is put the backing just exactly like I have done. I put it right over the frame, and it's hanging, it's over 100 inches long, this one, and so it's right down the back as well, so that the whole thing is like spread over a bed, I suppose you could think of it. And the reason why I do that is there may well be in-bed creases in it, because you can iron it all you like before you take it to a longarmer, but like this one, it's been waiting for a long time for me to actually get round to quilting it. So it has actually been folded up for a very long time, and there will be creases, you know, it's fine. And I'm sorry, I don't want to iron this. I did actually end up having to iron the seam through the middle, which hopefully you can see there, because it had got folded into place on top of one another. So I do need that open, because otherwise obviously you'll be able to feel that thickness of fabric in the quilt, the finished quilt, and I don't want that, and neither does Irene. So I did press that flat, but I have not pressed the whole thing to get all the creases out. What I do is I load it all over there like that, and I'll come into screen now. And what I do is I get my water mister and I just gently mist it wherever there are firm creases, because when I am quilting, I've got to load this onto the frame first, and then the wadding will go on top of it, and then the quilt top will go on top of that. Of course, you like your quilt sandwich of 3 layers. I can't see the back. Unless I go underneath the quilt, I can't see the backing. So it's best to deal with any things like creases or random threads, dark threads that might be on it, things like that. So what I will do is I'll leave it generally like this. After it's been spritzed, I will leave it overnight, and this has been left overnight because there are a few steady creases in it. So now I am ready to load this onto the frame. We interrupt this transmission to give you some additional information. What the humble spritzer does for your quilt, when I gently mist it with the water, I need to add that it helps give a little bit of extra weight to the fabric, and that helps weigh out the creases. So just that gentle water adds away, and of course it's hanging over the frame. That all helps just organically get rid of those creases. I can highly recommend it, no matter what quilting you're doing, actually. If you don't fancy ironing a massive piece of fabric like this has now become. Another thing that is important before a quilter, long armer, can quilt your project is I need to have your backing to be, this is my personal requirements, check with the long armer that you use what their requirements are, but my requirements are that I have at least 4 inches backing wider than your quilt top all the way around. The length, I'm fine with having excess on the length, but the width needs to be 4 inches wider, so 8 inches total wider than your quilt top is. Okay, and now with this one, this backing is way too wide. Whoops, way too wide for what I need and actually for my frame. Let me see if I can show you this here now. I might have to maneuver the camera a little bit, but no, you can see. So here, there's the edge, for me, there's the right edge of the quilt, and there's the backing going beyond it, and that's exactly what I want. About that, I haven't measured it, but I need something like that, because there will be side clamps. Well, not these in particular. There will be side clamps holding on to the backing and the wadding, and so I need to be able to stitch to the edge. I won't be able to stitch to the edge of the quilt if the machine is banging against this side frame. When the machine comes over here, it can't do it at the minute because it's not loaded properly. The fabric's in the way of the machine coming across. But when it comes across here, I won't be able to stitch, especially with the backing this wide. I won't be able to stitch to the edge of the quilt top if the quilt top is too close to the edge of the frame. Hopefully that makes sense. But the main point I'm saying is that you need to allow for that much extra wadding and backing than your quilt top. Now over there, I've got I'd say nearly half a metre there. I haven't measured it yet, but I need to trim that down so it's a lot narrower. Or what I might use that excess for is for practicing, getting warmed up, checking my tension on the stitches when I've decided what thread and what design I'm actually stitching. That excess fabric could be used for me to do that practicing and testing and warming up. You know, if I'm doing free motion, I need to warm up my shoulders, warm up my body, get my head knowing what design it's going to be doing, all of that. So sometimes I will use excess fabric like that for just that purpose. So that's another thing you could do with considering. Again, talk to your longarmer really and see what they need. Ideally, in an ideal world, I would rather the join of your backing to be going horizontally across this way, because it helps keep your quilt, when it's rolled onto the frame, it keeps it even. Whereas if you've got a seam running through the middle, that middle section might be quite tight on the frame, but the edges might be a bit floppy. But that's what a longarmer has to manage constantly, is that even tension of your project over the frame. Okay, very much teacher voice there. But just a little bit of information for you about, even before the longarmer's done any quilting, they've already had to take up their time and their long arm to hold the quilt backing on, to spritz it and get rid of some of those firm creases. Okay, so there's a lot more to long arming than just pressing a button and it stitches out. That's just a tiny section of what a long armour does. So I hope that helps. If you've got any questions, I'll put the email details on that below, and don't forget to do the old likey and subscribe, and that all helps other people see this sort of information that they might need to know. It's not for you if you want to buy a long arm. This is for you if you want to send your quilt to a long armour, if you've got no idea what a long armour is. Okay, hope that helps, and I'll see you again next time.